Good morning, everybody. My name is Cris Gulacy-Worrel. I am the Vice President of Oakmont Education and a proud board member of the Freedom Coalition. Thank you guys for being here today. I know that it's not easy to travel and leave our families behind. Particularly, it's not easy sometimes to go into Washington, D.C. the day after a major election that we've just seen. So I want to welcome to the stage my incredible panel of some of my dearest friends and colleagues that I have a privilege of working with. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves, starting with the incredible Pastor Josh Robertson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pastor Robertson. I am the senior pastor of the Rock Church in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm the CEO and founder of Black Pastors United for Education. Just glad to be here with this esteemed panel.
Hi, my name is Kyle Smitley. I'm the founder of Detroit Achievement Academy and Detroit Prep, two small charter elementary schools in Detroit, Michigan.
I'm Dr. Steve Perry, head of schools and founder of Capital Prep Schools in New York and Connecticut.
All right, thanks so much, you guys. I kind of wanted to get us started. I know that this is titled like what was that? And I know a lot of us probably sat in our respective homes or hotel rooms if we were traveling, regardless of who you were behind, and thought, what was that? Like, what really was that? So I wanted to kind of take this time to refocus us back on education, because unfortunately during this presidential campaign, we didn't hear a lot about education. Really, the only time we heard about education was when you had your community forum, town hall, and you held that with Vice President-elect Vance. So my first question for you guys, and I wrote them down because, I want to make sure I get it right. How do you keep relationships and continue to do collaborative work with people who have very different views as yourself? I'm going to start with you, Pastor Josh, because I just know that you've got experience and you're very talented and gifted at relationships and building that trust.
I mean, I think the first thing is believing that everyone is really seeking the common good, and starting with that place that people are well-intentioned, even if they are off track, that people are well-intentioned. So I think I try to preface my approach to people who I would know believe differently than me, that they are striving for something that I'm striving for as well. I just don't see it the way they see it. They don't see it the way I see it. So I think it's approaching conversations with the idea of not winning the conversation, but more so how can we move the conversation forward? And as long as we can stay together while we do that, I think we, long term, we have a chance to do something special. I think we're better together.
I agree. Kyle, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so for the entire election cycle, I had a quote from John F. Kennedy in the forefront of my mind, which is, he said, "Our progress as a nation cannot be swifter than our progress in education." And so in the best of days with the election, in the worst of days, I just would wake up and be committed to serving my purpose, which is delivering results for kids and families in Detroit, and sort of making sure that when we're thinking of this idea of democracy, that we as a school are turning out big-brained, big-hearted kids who are able to participate in that and able to create commonality, like Pastor Josh said. And then within my role as an adult, making sure that I'm advocating for a world that we can turn them loose into, that gives them equal access to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. And I think when you lead with that truth, I sort of drag people to that from both sides. So a less peaceful approach than Pastor Josh. But yeah, that's, I think, just like leading with our work and our truth.
Sometimes you find yourself in a dark room and you can feel people kicking you, but you don't know who. Then you cut the lights on and you look down, and everybody's got feet, which makes everybody a suspect. You don't know who kicked you or why. You could spend the rest of the day trying to figure out who kicked you and why, or you could think about the fact that the people who are probably kicking are in the right room, meaning that the people who are in the rooms that they're supposed to be in have motion, have movement, are trying to do something for themselves or others. So if you find yourself being kicked, you might mess around and be in the right room. So for me, mine is a simple proposition. Look down. All y'all got feet. So we might actually be in the right room. We could decide to be caught up in the fact that the jostling has created some discomfort for some of us, or accept that being in that room requires you to be uncomfortable. And as a result, keep in mind that the lights will come on again, and y'all look up here and see these size 11s. Everybody in the room has feet, including you. So you decide whether you want to be kicked or you want to kick. Or if nobody wants to be kicked, then we can find a way to work together. Lights on or off.
Thank you for that. And I want to kind of expand a little bit on that, working with people that are, philosophically potentially unaligned on issues out of school choice. What do you do when that starts to impact you personally? What strategies have you used? What things have you been able to do with not taking that personally, not taking that to heart? Because that's difficult. And as we move forward in unification and forward focused and future focused, I think it's important for people to understand how to, and I don't want to say thicken your skin, but how to adjust yourself and pivot and move in spaces where people that you really care about, value, and respect are at great odds with the work you're doing, not necessarily for the reasons of the work itself, but the people that you are having to work with and the entities or organizations. Can you guys speak to that a little bit? Maybe
I could definitely speak to that. As you said, we invited, at the time he was just vice presidential candidate, JD Vance, and I've had my own family members walk away, from the relationship with me because of it. I've had to learn that before I come to the public to take care of me. So waking up early in the morning, just having a devotional time, a time of just centering myself before approaching the world. I think sometimes we overlook how much you have to take care of you if you're going to be a freedom fighter, right? It starts with that care for yourself. And for me as a Christian, I take that very seriously. But then secondly, I take this approach. What I say to you behind closed doors is a little bit more aggressive than what I'm going to say publicly. So like when I'm dealing with lawmakers behind closed doors, I'm not mincing no words. I'm not being nice, right? In the sense of I'm going to be cordial, I'm going to be respectful. But I got kids who I have to help. I'm building a bridge. And if you are someone who is against that or whatever that may be, I'm willing to be reasonable. But at some point, and I said this publicly a few weeks ago, but I mean it, when God needs a trumpet, a flute won't do. And so you got to be willing to, sound your voice and say what you mean and say it from your heart and stand up for something. So that's my approach.
So Pastor Josh has actually taught me a lot personally through our time together as a cohort about taking care of yourself, which I very much appreciate. I will say that I become most exhausted when I realize that I am sort of hedging my tenor with one group and then a different group and then a different group. I am a part of a very blue community in a very blue city, in an all blue legislature in an all blue state. And yet I find myself like pushing and working with advocacy with like our friends across the aisle. So I will become exhausted when I'm having to just monitor my tone and my tenor. And so I have stopped. And the exact truth is what you get all the time, exactly the facts all the time. It doesn't matter who you are, what position you have had or had, you're getting my unfiltered opinion constantly. For example, I'm from Michigan, home of Betsy DeVos. And so in an all blue area where we get a lot of anti-DeVos work, I am very quick to say, your kids are in the top, either number one or number two, both of which are mine, schools in the city. And those schools don't exist unless Betsy lifted the cap on charter schools in Michigan, which happened the year that we got our charter, right? Like our schools don't exist. So like, tell me more about how you know more about how she has like brought quote unquote down. So I think like just needing to like speak your whole truth constantly is the only way. So people also just know what they're getting always.
Lemonade, right? I ain't lose. I did what I was supposed to do. I've been played by both sides of the aisle. I'm not walking around here thinking that because somebody's an R or a D that they have my back. I've been in this long enough to have sat with people who promised me they had my back. People whose weddings I went to, for real, only to come out and look them dead in the face like, Seriously, this is what we're doing now. I am here for children, period. Grown people, y'all a lot. A whole lot. I struggle with you.
That's
I really
a
do. I
word.
struggle
That's a
with
word.
I struggle with you. I really do. Kids I'm cool with. Like that's me. So I'm here for them. So that means I got to work with all of y'all, no matter what. And so to this end, honestly, y'all ain't never lost nothing before? Like you never took a L? Like a real big L? First year of our girls basketball team, somebody beat us 71-1. They were trying to run it up. They pressed us all the way to the end. A loss is a loss. If you lost, you lost. Me, I'm trying to figure out a way to make this a win. We're going to be in the winner's circle. So, if they don't want Department of Education, cool. So I got an idea. Let's send all the money to the children. Title I money goes directly to them in the same way it would as if they had a financial aid. Let's keep it a buck. Like, hey, if we're going to do this thing, let's do it. Why? Either you're going to make the menu or you're going to be on it. I'm not going to be on the menu. I'm not going to sit here and try and make friends with people who've never had our back ever. We'll quickly send their kids to private schools as they tell me they're pro-public school. What am I supposed to do with that? So for me, there are plenty of ways we can make this make sense. I don't have to be in love with a politician in order to get her or him to do what it is we need them to do. Oh, y'all don't have to clap. They didn't pay me. So in any way, we have to grow up. Seriously, got to grow up. I say it this way. When I was growing up, if you went to a party with somebody, that's who you had to leave with. If stuff went left, however it happened, if you went there, your guy had a lot of mouth, then you should be ready to fight. Whoever you came with, leave with. And create opportunities along the way. Our children don't have time for this mess. And let me just tell you this. Here's a shocker. I woke up yesterday black. In America. You know what I woke up the day before? Black. You know what I woke up today? Black. Now, I'm not jet black, but inside I am. Inside I'm Jaimin Hunsu. So I understand all too well what this is about. You think I'm gonna get up there like I won a lost? I run schools, ladies and gentlemen. That's my job. That's my calling. I don't have a second act. This is all I'm gonna do. Don't ask me what I'm doing next, because there is nothing. I want to make sure that every single child in the United States of America has access to a quality education, no matter where they are, no matter what they do, no matter how much money they have. Full stop. I'm prepared to work with whoever, whatever, whenever to make that happen. You do the purity test. That's on you. I'm not that guy. So if that's not your cup of tea, I ain't your cup of tea. I woke up black anyway.
Thank you so much for that. I think that maybe needs a little pause, a little clap. A little clap. I want to ask about, so we know, everybody knows that tensions are high, and I'm not in this room, which is actually why I love this space, is because this brings together people from everywhere, and the tension is not there. But we do know that tensions are running high right now. So when tensions are running this high and people are in their feelings, how do we bring us back to the conversations that matter, the conversations about our students? How do we stay under the wave and run while it's crashing down, or above the fray of all of this? How would you recommend that people in their communities, in their spaces, bring the conversations back to what matter? Because that's really difficult. I know that we've been doing it for a long time, so sometimes it comes as second nature, but not everybody in this room has had to have that. And in some states, we've seen the legislatures turn. So people who are used to working, say, with a Democrat or a Republican on a certain budget line item or a certain legislative push or bill, that's all changing. We're having new players. And so this is a time when I think we need to set people up with good strategies to be able to bring the conversations back to what matter. Because when we spiral into those other conversations is when our kids lose. And we don't win. No, the adults aren't winning at that point either.
I mean, I think poise is the order of the day. At the end of the day, I'm not proud of what I've done when I've been upset or angry. It's partly why I'm a Christian. Yeah. He done brought me a mighty long way, y'all. I used to cut up when I was angry. So that's never served me well. So I think poise has to be the order of the day. But then I think there's two key principles that I live by, which are unity and determination. And so I forget who said it. I want to say it was Jeannie or Michael. One of them said to me, there are no permanent enemies, right? And so I look at it and say, if I'm going to give my life to this work for the next 30 years, somebody who I may disagree with today, I'm going to curb how I may say something to them in light of one day we may be friends. One day we may get it. And I don't want to say something so damaging to the relationship that we can't be united later on down the road, whether I change or whether they change. So I am one who I think that you should cherish relationships. I think that even when you disagree with someone, there's a respectful way to disagree with them. And so that's how I approach things for the sake of unity. And then determination. When you want to see something in your future, every day you put your hands to work on it, but there's only so much that these two hands can do. So the principle of unity and then determination, if we can combine them, now you see us doing something very special in the future. I look at it and say, for education in America, why is it even a Democrat or Republican issue? I think the greater cause that we should be working for is to not make it a partisan issue. It should be all of us are uniting around taking care of our children. Now, with that, you're going to have to demonstrate poise, because when you see how people are about money, and how sometimes the kids don't get what they need because someone wants an advancement of money or someone wants to keep a monopoly of money, that's a hard thing to look someone square in the face and know that they're protecting their financial interests instead of the interests of our collective future and our children. But again, I don't know if outbursts or anger is the order of the day when you're trying to build a relationship with someone long term. And so I think that curbs how you approach people and how you entreat people. But then that determination piece is another. In my life, I've been able to, win some incredible football games. The one that comes to mind is I got a win on Michigan's field. Anybody go blue in here?
Go blue.
Yeah. I got
Ohio. I can't say that.
Yeah. So no one in America thought we were going to win that week. University of Minnesota versus University of Michigan. No one in America. Do y'all hear me?
No.
Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor. No one. I see y'all ain't been to the black church, but here we go. No one thought we were going to win, but we did. And we were determined to do it. And the closer we got to the win, the more hungry we were, the more focused we were, the more we leaned in. And I think we're at a special time in these United States of America, much like how we were then. We're close. We're on the cusp of something great. I think if we lean in and we demand it. And so it's one thing for someone to give you something. It's another thing for you to take it. And I think that if we want to see radical education reform in America at every level, when you build that school, you're taking it. When you're advocating, you're taking it. When we're collaborating, we're taking it. And that united, determined effort to accomplish something, I think we can do it. Yeah.
Thank you. That was great.
Our approach is every 2 years we'll go meet the folks. Like Dr. Perry said, whenever I talk to newly elected legislators, I do actually talk to them like I'm talking to kids. Hi, my name is Kyle. Here's our success. Here's why you should listen to me. Here's how we outpace our peers. Here's how we do more with less money. Here's how long I've been doing this. Again, our elected officials are all Democrat, so it has the result of just giving us like a significant amount of air cover. Just like to answer your question, but I think the other thing that we try to do to like diffuse tension is like invite people in. We find that it's a lot harder to lie or lie publicly, lie to us, lie about us, when I'm sort of forcing you to like envision the perfect children that you are in it and lying about, or lying about the type of education that they're getting at a free public charter school or any similar model. So bring people in and talk to them like they're kids.
Can I say something about? I'm sorry, one second. I want to say something about that. As educators, I don't know if you know how powerful it is to put on public display the genius of your kids, right? Like that gives people, I think the combination of advocacy and people who build educational opportunities go hand in hand. For someone who advocates like myself, you know, I love to point to, when I'm talking to lawmakers, I can point to your respective educational models that you've built and say, look at this. You don't want this in your community? So the more you put that out there, you may not directly advocate for it, but the more you do that and show that narrative of what you do with kids, it gives people who advocate a chance to point at that and say, this is the genius of America. This is what we could do collaboratively. This is what, if you know, have the right laws in place, this is what we can do. So I just wanted to lean in on that.
I am not a pastor, nor do I play one on television. I am a Christian under construction, so I cuss.
Likewise, brother. Likewise.
A lot. And I'm a social worker, but not yours. So manage your energy and I'll manage mine. As long as we can respect one another, we can go very, very far in this conversation. If we do not, it's a short conversation. I can only manage what I put out. So if somebody's struggling with the election or whatever it is they got going on in their life today, my heart goes out to you. But I didn't do that to you. Again, me, kids, that's what I do. I want to make sure that we use every single opportunity that we have before us to create more opportunities for more children. If we're not paying attention, what we do not recognize is that this group, this class, this cohort of individuals who've seen themselves as founders of educational opportunities do not have a bench. If I were to go to each one of you and ask you, who's going to take over when you leave? Very few of you have anyone behind you. In fact, if I were to ask you who on your staff will sleep in your school, your answer is no one. But then I ask if you have, and you say many times. We are not in a position to continue the cult of personality that has brought us this far. We cannot continue to think that you're going to find a Don Hintz again. It's not going to happen. A Howard Fuller again. It's not going to happen. So these are once in a generation people. And if we don't start to institutionalize choice in such a way that it cannot be broken, the teachers union is the devil. And so for me, it's clear. We have to create an unbreakable set of circumstances by which we don't need to die on our job. That we can hand it off to an average principal. And she could be totally unimpressively average. But just because one parent calls the State Department of Education, your school ain't about to be shut down. Just because one time somebody pays the bill the wrong way, you're not going to be shut down. Just because kids fight outside your school like they do everywhere, it's not going to be shut down. Just because the building leaks, just because it's hot, just because it's cold, just because parents are acting a fool. We have allowed ourselves to be put in this position, this intellectual ghetto of sorts, where we keep thinking that, oh, no, there's always going to be somebody willing to work 17, 18, 20 hours a day to do this work. Look at your staff, ladies and gentlemen. I need work-life balance. What the hell are you talking about? I don't know if I can walk to my car in a neighborhood. In a neighborhood, we run schools where children live. You can't. Okay. Am I sorry for you? Because people live here, man. So you forgive me if I don't sound empathetic. The point is this, that we have to put in place an institution that is unbreakable, that is set up in such a way that the generations that follow have choice absolutely. Every single child of every single race in every single region has a form of choice that meets their needs. This room should be passé. This should just be the way education happens. And so, if somebody's going through it, I got you. Don't bring that here. Don't bring that here. You want to be disrespectful? I'm raised differently than I'm dressed. So let's be clear. We have an obligation. Get over it. If you lost, you lost. If you won, you won. Now let's get back to work and get these kids into the best schools on God's earth.
That's right. Thank you, Dr. Perry. As always. So I want to quickly just talk about, you said bridge building, and I think about that a lot. Are there can you share a specific example of when being like standing the gap? I often say, like, we got to stand the gap, like our students and our families need us to be there and build these bridges. Is there a specific example of when you've done that and it has impacted students or families?
Sure. Our first day of school this year, it was a 11-year-old boy who was raised by his grandmother, who he came to school the first day. His mother had made an arrangement with her mother, who was caring for him, that if he got into our learning center, that she would go to a rehab. And so she normally, as a pastor of a church, right? Normally I see her walking down the street and she's a zombie, right? She's mixed with all type of drugs. You could just see life is just hitting her. But for her, she was like, if her son at the local school, he was bullied, he was doing bad in school, all those things. It was just a bad situation. But the beacon of hope for her was her son would be in this local church that had at a learning center. And so the first day of school, we saw an 11-year-old kid hug his mother and go down the hall to class, and she go to the rehabilitation place. Now, that was in September. She's still there now, and she's committed to getting well. The reason why I mention that is because we're not just bridging an opportunity for the kid to be educated, we're also bridging an opportunity for communities to be revitalized. And I think that's the piece. Like, we're investing into our collective future, right? Our children, no matter what policy or what politician is in office that you agree with or disagree with, no matter what plan they have in place, 30 years from now, none of us are going to be in the same ability to continue the movement. So who does? We have to invest. We have to build this bridge for our children, for our collective future together. That's one example.
In thinking of just like bridge building and standing in the gap, one thing that jumps out that we have done most recently is we have a partnership with our authorizer. We're a charter school. We're authorized by a major university. Our authorizer approached us and said, what sort of an authorizer would we be if we didn't feel super committed to your K-8 education, that we felt like we should be accepting those students for free, for $0, no strings attached, into our university? And, I was like, for sure, but it's never been done before. And so in 2021, we made national history. State University accepts a bunch of 13-year-olds into college, $0, whatever. Next year, we did it again. It's amazing. And we started to chat with parents who sort of would say, like, man, what a cool opportunity. I wish more people had access to that. I wish I had access to that. So we approached the university and we said, what if parents and kids were going to college at the same time? What if families also got accepted? The university just sort of immediately and unanimously came back and said, sure, yeah. Parents, free of charge, 2 parents per kid, we'll accept them at the same time. And sort of just standing in that and just hearing the needs of our families, hearing the actual impact it could have on everything from generational wealth to just daily income, and advocating and just being met with nothing but warmth and open arms, I think is the best example of where we've seen some success with that.
I think bridges are built with an understanding that you have to make a way over a rough part. I think the presumption is that you have to have a specified direction. And so in order to build a bridge, you have to have a plan with a direction. So if we're talking specifically about educational choice and opportunity, then we have to have a plan. It's very difficult for someone to follow you when you don't even know where you're going. bridges as they are, while they may take you to many places, they take you to a singular point first. So for me, universal school choice is the only conversation. I have nothing else that I'm interested in. And as a result, I'm open to all forms that get us there. But the first part is to establish that we have to be moving in a direction that keeps in mind that we are covering ground over either water or treacherous land in an effort to get somewhere else. So we're going from what feels like a safe place to an unsafe place to a safe place. So as we go over the bridge, those of you who gotten to my age and now develop a bridgeophobia, which is that shit ain't cool. For real. So you have to recognize that every minute that you spend on it, you have one less on it. So now you're going somewhere. So it's going to be tough at times. But we have to decide specifically what we want the outcomes of this to be. And in this room, there are many outcomes. Once we get over it, it could be a homeschool, micro school. It could be pastors leading. It could be think tanks. It could be technology. It could be whoever, whatever, wherever. But what we have to do is keep in mind what we need. Some of the biggest challenges to operating schools outside of the traditional system are these. One, we can spend as much time as we want trying to raise money, but nobody in here, and I know that some people are really good at raising money, you can't raise more money than the government. So schools require government money. We are public schools. And if we're not public schools, we're educating the public, which to me means we're public schools. It's just a method of delivering education. So we need to take a look at how we do that. What that means to me is we have to create as many opportunities as possible to make sure that the government resources, are said differently, our resources as the people go to the processes that are necessary to create as many opportunities as possible. You heard me mention a little while ago that I think if we're going to do Title I money should go in the same way that the federal student financial aid goes, same way that Medicaid, Medicare, same way that Section 8 goes, send it straight to the family. I don't want to have to go to New Rochelle's public schools or New York City's public schools or Bridgeport's public school. Can I have my money, please? I'm not playing with them like that. Send it straight to me or send it straight to the family, and then we'll work it out in between there. In addition to that, one of the biggest problems that we have is those of us who do run schools, we're constantly in renewal. And the renewal circumstances are such that all you need is one follow-up bleep or blunder, which everyone has every day. If you like me, you sit back, you like with back sweat on this stuff, like, oh my God, every time your phone rings, like, what happened now? Why? Why does she have to go home from the college trip? Why? Why can you sit her behind in the room? Why this morning? This morning. So for us to build bridges, we have to direct people as to where to go. And so for us to build bridges, we have to keep in mind where we need to get to. What are the treacherous waters over which we need to travel? Treacherous waters, we don't have enough money to run charter schools, magnet schools, VOTEC schools, independent private schools. We don't have enough money to do it. We need the money that we raised for educating. That needs to come directly to us. Then we need facilities, because facilities cost a lot of money, rumor has it. And if you live and work in places like Wichita, where they literally make it illegal to take a school that is shuttered and turn it into a school, you heard it all the way right. Yeah. We need to make sure that we have access to buildings. And the final part is we need to not have to spend every 24 months renewing. We have to shut down the entirety of the organization just to exist, only for some bureaucrat who couldn't even run a two-legged race to tell you how to run a school. Well, we think that you should suspend less. You do too, huh? Yeah, we do too. But now you're going to shut us down because all we have is suspension numbers of the district? But you're not going to shut them down. You're going to give them more money. We have to create the conditions. We have to put together very clear, concrete directions that we give to legislators up here and in our respective areas, and that there is no breach, because this is the final part. Grown people, I told you, I struggle with y'all. We huddle up. We call a play, we break the huddle, we get to the line, and some of y'all do your own damn thing. You mess around and get somebody hurt, and that ain't cool. So when we break the huddle, we run the play, run the damn play. Don't get creative. Don't go out and do your own thing. Don't audible. Run the play. When we say we want money, don't let some Democrat get you in there. Well, do you really need money? We don't really need money. It's fine if we raise. Shut your ass up. What are you doing? Do you need buildings? No, we have a building. You are not the only one on the team. Just because you have a building doesn't mean the rest of us have a building. When we call the play, we break the huddle, run the damn play, and keep your mouth shut. And then every player is designed to score a touchdown. There's not a single play anywhere in any football team that is designed to just score to get a first down. Everyone said to score a touchdown. Every single one. So we want to score a touchdown. You block your man, you run your position, you do the fake, and we score. We win.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that brought us to the end of our panel. And I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Dr. Perry, Kyle, Pastor Josh. And do I have time to just ask one quick? I just want to say briefly, what's next? What's next? So what's next? What's next for you?
So for what's next for me is I'm doing a cohort with other pastors to teach them high-level fundraising, the perspective of education from a civil rights movement, policy and advocacy, and the building of our own philanthropic community, so that in 30 years we're not applying for grants, we're giving them.
Yes, that's awesome.
We're going to tackle school meals. We are super excited to be one of the first districts in the country to build a commercial grade scratch kitchen where we're going to turn out 1,000 fresh breakfasts and fresh lunches for kids every single day. We're going to serve their grandma's chicken for lunch. We'll have rethink our purchasing to tons of the local Black-owned Detroit farms and just rethink what USDA-approved school meals can look like in an urban environment.
One time somebody said, "You're just in bed with billionaires." Well, I am not. However, my room is 917. I have 2 keys. If there are any billionaires in this room, holla at your boy. Until such time, we're looking to change the game. I'm willing to sit down and talk to whoever wants to talk, but I'm more interested in working with people who want to get work done, because I've spoken enough. I want to change the way the system works once and for all. Let our grandkids try to untangle this thing once we're done.
Let's get to work, everybody.